The hardness of life teaches you good lessons. Having no one to rely on, no one to depend on makes you independent.
Successful people, the number one thing is very important, the morning routine.
No matter what you do in life, what position, role, student, teacher, if you're those three things, you will be successful.
Hi everyone, Levon is here, and today we are going to shoot another episode. As I mentioned, I am in real estate for the last 10 years, and I met so many inspired people that I decided to make this show, and everyone can share their experience, their pathway, and that maybe you can take an advantage from that. So, my today's guest is Alexandra. Thank you, Alexandra, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we know each other long time, but today I'll try and I have some knowledge, like know you, and I know where you started. But today we want to talk about start, like the middle, your improvement in a career, and some kind of personal achievements as well, or the personal winnings as well.
Sure, sounds
So
interesting.
let's
Okay.
start from the start. When did you move to Canada, and a little bit story about that?
The start. So moved to Canada with my parents. I was a child. 1996 when we came to Canada. It was a second immigration back to back. We left USSR in 1994. I left when I was 12. I arrived here when I was 14. So it was interesting because that's usually the time where, especially teenage girls are having sort of the hardest time
Right.
growing up. So I feel like I almost bypass all that because we're just so focused on adapting, learning languages, new environment, all new people, right? So I feel like I didn't really have a chance to be the typical, whiny, needy teenager because we just had to, figure things out. So I came, I guess it was a bit of a good milestone because I came and I went straight to grade 9. So I started high school,
Mhm.
which I guess in a way was sort of a new start for everyone, right? Doesn't matter whether you've been in Canada or not. But I was in a neighborhood that had a lot of, Russian-speaking
Oh, I see.
teenagers. So I don't remember the transition being challenging, but um, I find, you have to become adaptable. I think so. Growing up back in USSR, we moved quite a bit. So I actually changed 9 schools.
Wow. So the changing school is for you is more
I think,
habit.
yeah, it's like if I live in my house for more than 2 years, I'm done. I'm like, I gotta
Okay.
move. So I'm more used to constant change than consistency. And I think that probably helped me because even in USSR, we moved from like Russia to Ukraine, different school, different friends, different kids, teachers, everyone around. So moving to Canada, I guess, was just another move, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, a bit of a language, which didn't take too long for a child to learn, but um, it was just, I guess, it was just another move, another environment, another brand new set of people. Um, Language we were sort of learning in school as is. So um, I didn't have a choice because my parents obviously were making those decisions. In general, growing up, I think my parents were pretty much making all the decisions. Obviously, for us, there wasn't much of a conversations or discussions. Um, but I think moving so much gave me a really good skill that I only realized later in life. It made me so adaptable, right? And I
Right.
found when I took it into my career and then dealing with clients, with customers, I realized that much later that allowed me to be like a chameleon. So when I meet you, I instantly adapt to your style of
Okay.
conversation, of personality, because I've always been new, right? I've always been in a new environment. So I think that in that skill I took into the real world, and I think that made me
Without realizing
successful.
that that's a skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you
Yeah.
mentioned that with our parents make decision for us, so my boys are the same age as your boys, and
Yes.
now if I'm thinking that if I will decide to immigrate to somewhere else, so they
Mm-hmm.
are like where we are moving, like they are going to,
Right.
I cannot make a decision for them,
Yes.
and I believe to accept a new society for them is going to be one of the biggest challenges.
Yes.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that you moved to like it's a different country totally, right? Even
Right.
if you did different kind of movements, even there were same language speaker people you met, but
Mm-hmm.
still I believe there are some
Oh,
challenges you had,
yes.
and you mentioned that that's the way how you handle all those challenges because you are more
Just you
people.
getting just used to, yeah, just used to pretty much always being in a new environment. But I hear what you're saying. Like my kids now, we're looking at a new home. They rip the phone out of my hands to
Right.
see what the listing looks like, right? I think we're raising a little bit of different kids, whether better or worse, we're
Yeah,
yet to be
it's a bit.
determined. I think the disadvantage of that was that I realized it took me too long to come into who I am as an individual. Where because my parents were always making the decision, I didn't really have a say. That I took that for too long, I think, in my life. Like I
Mm,
was told what to do for too long.
I see.
I don't know if it's a woman thing or in general person, but I feel like because decisions were made for me, now I try to get my boys more involved because I do want them to make those decisions earlier, right? They could be wrong decisions,
Right.
right? I'm like, you do you, right?
Your
And
decision.
then we'll figure this out, right? So
Oh,
there's a lot of
smart thing.
cases. So that's what I mean. So there's kind of two sides to that, to making those decisions for your kids, or basically saying, I'm the parent, this is what we're gonna
This is
do,
it.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
we will go back again to your high school time. So you came to Canada, new life, new place. Definitely you start to build your dreams, what you want to become, where you want to see, like, or just like how was that time? Because the
Mhm.
leadership position or the being leadership, some people they start thinking about it even from the high school. They can see those skills even around the high school, right?
Yeah.
These kids they are like managing different kind of activities, all those kind of things. So did you have that leadership skills back in from the school or maybe after school, or that you
Mhm.
had that
Drive.
goal
Yeah.
drive? Like I want to understand which kind of person you've been to
So it's
become a,
actually
this kind of.
it's interesting. It also takes you a while, to understand that I had no idea what I was gonna do. No clue, no plan, no idea. I was like, go with the flow. I finished high school with not even a great average. But then when I always liked finance, like money,
Mm.
but not money in terms of money in terms of counting, buying, selling. That was always sort of that business. I
Mhm.
definitely I took it from my father. I definitely have that business sense because I remember even my parents, in USSR, you like there's a lot of you sell, you buy things. I was always sort of involved in that. Um, so I've always liked that, and I enjoy business. I'm not, for example, there's mathematical people, there's more like science people. I've always enjoyed that. So when I finished high school, I wasn't sure, but I'm like, okay, well let's go into business, right? So I took sort of a general business administration program because I wasn't sure. Again, there's so many things you can do, or you can go to university afterwards. So I took business administration, and I really liked it. Like I did finish the
Mhm.
first year generally, but I really like there was a lot of things. Like we never cared to skip a class because the class was so much fun. Like our professors were so engaging with life experiences, not just some sort of a theory, right? So I did business administration, and then I took financial planning as a specialty, and I really liked it. So from graduating high
High
school
school.
with like 60 average to graduating college with honors, because I
I
found
see.
I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the finance courses. I'm enjoying the economics, even law we did. That was really cool. So it came with time. So now when I look at my kids, I have one child who's very driven, like he is on the path. My older one, that's usually like that. My older one, no clue. And while I push him, I
Mhm.
realize in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna say it to him, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So it's okay not to know, but you just gotta push, right? You still gotta learn, you gotta push forward. So that's what I'm trying to teach him.
It's interesting. It's come up with a question like, based on that, do you think that is you are in a good leadership position in one of the big banks?
Yes.
So to be there, it's not just something. Either it's a build of you have some habits that you are
Mm-hmm.
there. So what do you think? What's that driven point that you become a leader? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like it's just
No, it
grades
doesn't
at
just
the
happen.
college that
No.
if you have a great college
So
grades, then you will become a good leader. It's you have some kind of either habits, some like
yeah,
I wanted that you will open
the
that
juice.
side.
So I think the hardness of life teaches you good lessons, right? So my parents split up when I was 16. I stayed with my mom. My mom wasn't working, so I had to essentially start working really
Mhm.
early, and I essentially didn't have anyone to rely on. And I know that, again, talking to a lot of people, you can either become a victim from that and then spend the whole life working through your parents' trauma, or you can embrace that. And I realized actually not that long ago that having no one to rely on, no one to depend on, makes you independent.
Mhm.
So because I had nobody to depend on, I knew I had to work, I had to provide for myself, right? So it wasn't a choice, maybe I don't have to work hard, or maybe I don't. need to work hard. So when I got my first job at the bank as a co-op student through my college education, it was a call center role.
I see.
It was a call center role. Some of my friends took the path of going to university and continuing their education. I didn't sort of had that choice. I started sort of at the basic
So,
position, call center, password resets, releasing holds. I had to be in that role for a year and a half before I can advance to the next role. Um, and I just knew I had to suck it up. I had to get through it, even though the role wasn't necessarily fun. That was a good stepping stone to get to the next position, right? As in the next position was lending. Then I started to learn a lot of that skill. Then I was good at that. Then progression continued, which I'm sure we'll touch base on that.
so, but I believe you have some daily habits that help you. Like, which kind of schedule do you have
Now,
yes.
so now I'm very disciplined. I'm a whole new person, a whole different person now. I get up at 5:55. I'm at the gym by 6:30. I take F45 class Monday through Friday. If I don't do it in the morning, there's not going to be enough time between kids' sports, all that other stuff. So I know that it's something I got to do first thing in the morning, and it's such a priority that no matter what. So, for example, 2 weeks ago, I working out makes there's trouble to that too. I was washing a cup, and I squished it so hard that I actually broke the glass into my hands. And I knew I had class the next morning, right? So with cuts on
Gotcha.
my hands, I'm
Wow.
like, how am I going to lift weight? So I put on rubber gloves and I went to the gym. So when that's such a priority to me because there's so much mental achievement in that for me that it's not a choice. I could be sick. My spouse goes, well, it's morning, you're not feeling well. No, no, no. I have to because if I I accomplish that time for myself, the rest will follow. Right? If I failed at that or the morning,
I
the
see.
rest of the day will be a disaster. So the discipline and achievement for yourself, that hour to yourself, like that miracle morning, whichever way
Yeah.
you want to call it, that already sets my days for success. I already succeeded in that. The rest will follow.
Okay, so now I wanted that we will focus in the morning routine, but
Hmm.
because what I found that successful people, the number one thing is very important, the morning routine.
Yes.
So how important that morning routine for you as well? So we are saying that you are going to gym,
Yes.
but is there any other things that you are paying attention in the mornings as well? Let's say visualization, affirmations. Is there anything else you are trying to use in the mornings?
I do. So when I finish my workout, we do a stretch, and then when I finish my stretch, I actually do a bit of a prayer. Probably sounds typical, but gratitude for
Yeah.
for my body, for waking up, for me being strong, and thanking for having a great day. So because mind will follow, right? Whatever you set up in your mind, it
Right.
will follow. So I thank my body for being strong, my mind for being present and being strong, and for already having a great day.
Okay.
So I basically so again that sets me up. I find by the time I get home, if there's some sort of a disaster, I'm actually prepared to handle it already. So I think the morning that, and then my spouse often makes me a wonderful breakfast. I'm fortunate that way.
So that's a
Uh,
part of your morning routine.
yes, a huge breakfast. Breakfast is huge for me. It has to be 3 eggs, buckwheat salad. It's got to be a massive breakfast because by 11 o'clock I'm starving. So, so definitely, yeah. So the physical, mental, I gotta fill my belly.
Spiritual, yeah, it's very,
Spiritual for
very, very
sure,
important.
because 9 o'clock starts. I have to basically assist the world
It's
in
interesting
my role.
because we're going to have a guest actually who is going to talk more about the physical and the business connections because so many people saying, oh, I'm in this position, I have so many things to do, I don't have time for gym, I don't have probably you
Yes,
heard as well.
yes.
And one of my guests is where we're talking that he was trying to help to their employees, to their team, that okay, the gym is very important. Like it's not a gym that you have to go and build muscles,
Mhm.
but to do that morning wake up, some kind of exercise is very,
Achievement,
very,
right?
very
It's
important.
that
Yeah,
personal achievement because if you have that personal achievement, the day
you are
will you'll
controlling your
already
day.
have that power, so nothing will break you, right? And speaking of like the morning, so I have a really good support group. I have women. We just
Mm,
traveled to Arizona. That also drives me to further success because that group of women are all mothers and professionals. But it just happened. It's not that we,
yeah,
formulated. So every 6 months we get together somewhere in the world and we say, what happened to you in the last 6 months? And everyone's like very shyly and very humbly. Like this time, one lady goes, she goes, well, I started my doctorship. We're like, you started what? She's like, oh, my doctorship.
yeah.
Like, And then another lady, she goes, well, I'm a nurse, but now I actually do heart surgeries with the surgeon. We're like, holy
Wow.
moly, right? And then one of my close friends, she's a senior lawyer. She's got 2 kids, same as me, same age, medals all around their house, so in the very high sports. She's a lawyer, her husband's a doctor, so basically no excuses, essentially, right? So I'm like, if she can do it, why
I
can't
can
I?
do that.
So it doesn't matter what shift you work, how busy your career is, kids, spouses, there's time. It's all about the will. It's
Okay.
definitely all about the will.
Thank you for sharing that. So I want to move next. Is there any mentor, like, is there any human maybe help? I'm not saying to help you, that directly help you to get where you are, but someone who inspired you, maybe some mentor help you work with you. Is there anything that you can share, that how important to have a mentor, or how important to have that person that you want to follow? I know, for
Mm,
example, I was reading a book, and then saying that even if you don't have an actual mentor that can help you, you can follow, let's say if you are a sportsman, to follow, find out that the
mhm.
basketball player and the check, especially now there everyone is in life, how is their day or how they are following. Is there anything in your life, or is there anything that you can share from that point?
Well, again, I think my support, my women group of workout, that's daily motivation
So it's a mind,
because
it's a mastermind group kind of, but it's in that side.
yeah.
But it's still you are same same
But
thing,
and
same
an
way thinking.
example would be we share that all the time. If somebody wakes up and really don't feel like, and then you open WhatsApp group and there's already 10 women that already worked out, you're like, oh, I gotta get my ass up, right? So that I
It's
think I got really
inspiring.
lucky with my boss. I feel like she's a little bit older version of me.
Hmm.
She's a very strong personality. We actually, so I naturally, for some reason, have strong arms. We actually arm wrestled. Never in my life had a woman win. Me and her locked, and it was exactly
Nice.
the same power. She's very powerful, very strong, very motivational. So when we have our coaching sessions, I find that I lead how she leads, and I really, I like how, I just like how. So she's definitely a
Mm.
good mentor for me, right?
I see. As an
Uh,
example to follow.
yeah, I got very lucky, I think, that way. Yeah.
That's a good. So if I'm asking this question for my guest, if you will have a chance to invite someone for lunch, who and why?
Who and why? So there is actually, speaking of it, that would be a mentor too. So there's this lady. Her name is Carla Harris.
Mm-hmm.
She's the first Black woman on Wall Street. She's been on Wall Street for about 30 years. I listen to her podcast a lot. Very powerful, very driven. I got a lot. So before I became a leader, I accidentally stumbled upon her TED talks, and she taught me a lot, actually. So that would be such an honor to take her for lunch, because I feel like there would be such tremendous energy that I would sponge from her. Yeah. So
To
Carla Harris.
for getting energy, tea or coffee? What would you prefer?
Both.
Or vodka?
Coffee in the morning, green tea in the
Green tea
afternoon.
in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Nice. So I want to talk about your personal. I know that recently you went through, I don't know, like we did never
Oh
discuss the
yeah, sure.
questions. Like I like if you
I'm okay.
don't want to talk, we
Yeah.
can like just cut this. But
Yeah. No, we're okay.
so I know, because this is, I believe, this is one of the wins as well that you had, and you
Yes.
win. It's a big win, and I seen like that's like,
Mhm.
I wanna like just maybe kind of share that. I know it's not the sharing the difficult parts. The
Yeah.
difficult parts are there, but it's about the mindset. And I know, like we had this conversation many times, that
Mhm.
the mindset is very important to
Yeah.
win the cancer, and you are cancer free, and
Yes.
that's yeah.
Thank you.
I want to like you will share, because this is another challenge that people are having too, right?
For sure. So I was talking to someone recently, and he said he went through a similar battle. Well, not a battle,
It is a
similar
battle,
situation.
yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, I didn't love the cost of the tuition,
Hmm.
but I love the lessons. And I'm like, I love that. That sounds really good, because yeah, the cost of the tuition is definitely pricey, but so many good lessons in that, right? So I was diagnosed, as you know, 2.5 years ago. Came completely out of nowhere. I'm not at any risk. So when you get diagnosed, there's a whole bunch of, they say, well, every eighth woman will have a breast cancer. Out of those 8 women, there's risk. Or, if you never had children, you never breastfed, there's a whole list. I'm on none of them.
Wow.
So zero. Then they actually make you do a genetical testing that they send to US to see if there's any deficient in gene deformalities or whatnot. I have none, zero. I got tested for 30, so zero. So no chance, none whatsoever. Sounds silly, but even a psychic told me I will never have cancer.
Wow.
So not a chance. Got it. And on top of that, there's different types. I got a rarer one. So we could guess for hours as to where it came from. No idea. So it was an interesting experience. So when the doctor told me, I mean, he was so uncomfortable and hesitant telling me, and he goes, "Well, how do you feel about it?" I'm like, "How do I feel about it?" I'm like, "What's the plan?" I'm like, "I don't need to feel anything about it. I need to know what we're doing about it." But there's two mindsets, right? There's mindset of people
Panic.
that think logically and run into a resolution. And there's people that get emotional right away, right? So
Right. Right.
anyone you meet, you will know right away. Like people are more prone to anxiety, and then or people that just right away like, what's the solution? So I'm fortunate enough. I'm like, what's the solution? Like, what's the plan, right? And then there's different plans. We're not the details of that doesn't matter, but it's an interesting journey because for sure it's definitely a mindset, and you can choose to, just like it happened with COVID or with cancer, you can let it absorb you. And I'm sure, again, mind you, there might be different types, there might be
Right.
different stages where maybe you're not treatable, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I got, I guess, fortunate enough that it was, as doctor said, there's hope.
Mm.
I'm like, no, there's no hope, we're gonna get through it, like
I
that's
think
not an
it's a
option.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. So the mindset is that it's not part of me, I'm not defined, I'm not cancer. It's something that I have, I'm dealing with, it's right here, it's not in me,
Mm.
it's right here. Even when people say you're sick, I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I just have a situation, I got a situation, we're walking along.
Wow.
We'll get through the situation. And I never, and then people were saying, well, you're a fighter, you gotta fight. I'm like, it's not a fight to me, it's love and kindness. Because again, it's, you're approaching with aggression, with anger, you're approaching it, you know this happened, let's not be guilty of blaming, shaming, because people around you, family members, will
Right.
start running into conclusions. Let's just figure out what we need to do and move forward. And I realized the biggest lesson, and I'm going to talk about it at a conference at my work next week, the biggest lesson I realized with cancer, or in general big life events, is you can prepare for it, you can predict it, but you can
Right.
prepare.
Oh.
The only way, because yeah, I could have said too, well, I work out, I eat healthy, why me, right?
Yeah.
And then it took me a bit of time, and I realized, I'm like, I am actually glad that I was in the condition I was. So I was physically fit, I was mentally fit, I was working out before, I worked out through the whole chemo, I rode my Peloton bike through the
Yeah.
whole chemo,
I remember.
because that was such an achievement. I'm like, if I can get through chemo on my Peloton bike, I got this, right? So I couldn't prepare for it. I couldn't have predicted it, but I'm like, because I was in such a good physical shape, I believe that was a tremendous difference, right? So I feel like when I look at people and they, if they're really overweight or not taking care of them, I'm like, if that hits you, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been similar with COVID too, right? If you already had something, like you had a diabetes, for example, or
Right.
something, if you had something that you weren't taking care of your body, you had much more, you didn't have much of a fight in you, right? Your body didn't have much of a fight. So you can prepare by being in that physical best shape of your life, right? Through diet, through exercises, one. And two, because what are the two stresses? Health and finances,
Right.
right? And finances, it's hard to save money. We all live more or less paycheck to paycheck, right? So you can't necessarily save, one. And two, you don't want to waste your savings on a disease that sucks, but you can have insurance. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big promoter. I've always been, but now I'm like, oh my God, people that don't buy insurance is just such a
Just I want to
fraction.
mention that Alexandra is not the
No,
insurance.
I am not. I just no, that
We are
this
not
is me.
advertising
No, God,
anything.
no, this is just me
It's a
realize
personal
that I am
experience.
so
Yeah.
glad that I had basically I had a mortgage disability insurance. That's
Oh,
what I
okay.
any bank said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to buy through a bank, you don't have to have it. But because if you in the fraction of the cost that it is for what you're gonna get out of it, you'll
Mm,
never save that money, right?
I see.
You'll never like, well, you will, but it's like, so they can cover like 2 years of mortgage payments, for example, right? That's like hundreds of thousands of dollars for a little amount that you'll be paying for
Right.
it. Because again, if I would have to dump my all of my savings into that, like that would be that
Yeah.
would be terrible, right?
I
So that's how I feel like you can prepare, is you can have that and you can. Yeah,
if I know that you can share, like, and if you are okay, so if
yeah,
people can reach maybe through social media and different channels to you as well, if they
sure.
are
Yeah.
having in this kind of challenges and more personal connection with Alexandra. But if the one thing would you suggest someone who is in that medical condition and they are, I don't know, it's a fighting, winning, whatever, it's a
Mm.
mindset. What one thing, like, I know it's very difficult to choose, just say this is the one thing, but I
No.
believe that
Well,
you
there's
have
this,
some
yeah,
kind of
there's a
like share.
simple saying, hope dies last,
Mhm.
right? So even now, and before I didn't really know anybody with cancer. I think that was my lucky thing too, but I was oblivious to I didn't have that negative relationship with it. I didn't have someone close to me dying. So I was a bit oblivious, but now I'm obviously knowing more and more people about it. And yes, it could end not well. It could, but nothing is promised. But hope dies last. So you got to be positive. You have to have a positive mindset that it will work out okay because your body will follow what your mind says. You 100% can. I am more than certain now with a lot of things I've been through that you can heal the pain inside of you. You can, okay, maybe you can't necessarily specifically cure cancer with your brain, but you can most certainly help with the journey, right?
Yes.
The way you receive the
Hmm.
treatment, the attitude you have towards it. You just have to trust the process and you have to be positive.
Okay. You are cancer free, move on. We're going back to business, Alexandra. So going back, what would you suggest people who is thinking about the leadership positions, who is like seeing themselves to the being
Mhm.
in financial institutions? So what kind of habits, I don't know, like anything that you would like to share with them that they will help them to get there, that where you are?
So I think with the career progression in general, because I mentor and I teach when I interview people, I am looking for I call them now 3 R's: reliable, responsible, respectful.
Nice.
No matter what you do in life, what position, role, student, teacher, if you're those 3 things, you will be successful, right?
Mhm.
I teach my kids that, right? If you're reliable, people can rely on you. It's crazy how many people are not reliable, right? You can, like, I have people on my team, like there's only a few that I can really trust, right? To come to you and do a presentation in your office, right? Because I can rely on them. If you can rely on someone, you will hold them next to you. You will keep them
Right.
close, right? So I know that my boss, she knows she can rely on me, right? So I get invited to a lot of events. I get invited. I get promoted. Um, you have to have that skill, and that's an easy, not an easy skill, but it's a skill you can acquire. You don't
Right.
need education for it. It's a mindset, right? Being reliable. If somebody asks you for it, you're there. Like, you asked me to be here today, I'm here today. It doesn't matter what happens in my life. I've committed to something, I did it, right? Respectful, self-explanatory, and responsible, right? If the task is given to you, you got to make sure you complete it, right? And that will, no matter what career you choose, that will help your progression 100%.
Great advice. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can meet again and again. And I believe that, like, really this kind of information is important for people. And in my career, I mentioned I met people who is reaching and winning, and I want to
Mm,
learn from them, their mindset, and I want to like always talk to them.
yes.
And we are like sitting and chatting. And at the same time, I see people who are having the challenge, and this is a challenge. I believe that this is a way to win this. But because they are not surrounded with the right people, they are not getting the right
Mm,
information, so they are not getting that, like, the small
that push,
things to
yeah.
do. The Yeah. So that's why we
Mm,
decided to make this podcast. Thank you for coming,
mm.
and hopefully we can see each other
Thank
again.
you. And good for you for doing that for people, because a lot of people definitely need inspiration, and you are yourself an inspiration. I know you for
Thank you.
many years. I love seeing you and your family progress. So thank you for having me. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and stay with us. Don't forget to subscribe and share this information with people who really need this.